Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today, we're going to be looking at a another one of the sorceress skills. I think this is the last one on the list for the sorceress, and we'll have her completed. And that is Fire Mastery. Fire Mastery is the capstone for the whole fire tree, and because fire mastery affects pretty much all fire skills, it's a rather important one for the fire skills. If you're going to build one of the fire skills, you probably are going to build fire mastery. Now, what does Fire Mastery do specifically? Well, there's actually a couple things that Fire Mastery does, and it needs to be kind of listed. So let me pull up a notepad right here, and we're going to talk about it for a second. So the first thing that Fire Mastery does, number one, is it enhances all fire damage, spell, melee, and ranged by the rated value. Okay, so whatever the rated value is on Fire Mastery, you will get that Fire Mastery bonus. It actually sort of acts as a synergy, but it actually doesn't act as a synergy. It's different. So this is also important, and something that we should write down is that number two, soft points do enhance the damage. So normally when you're talking about synergies, for instance, like with something like, say, Enchant or like Fireball or something like that. Like, let's say you have Enchant and then you have plus to skills that enhance Warmth. Normally, with some very few exceptions within the game, but none on Sorceress, the synergy bonus does not get enhanced by plus to skills. And this is because plus to skills on Warmth does not help that damage output. It does help the Enchant, but it doesn't help your synergy bonus to enchant. All right. Now, the interesting thing here is that Fire Mastery is not a synergy, but it does enhance the damage of a skill like a synergy. And because of this, it does actually get enhanced by soft points. So this is number two. Number three is it increases melee slash ranged damage. Melee slash ranged fire damage separately from the spell casting. So this is kind of confusing, but basically what it means is that when you have something that is casted as a spell, if the spell also happens to apply melee damage, like Enchant, then it actually gets affected twice by the enchant, not just once. So, for instance, let me see if I can display this in some way that makes sense. Best way to do this is let's go ahead and reboot the game, and let me pull up the version that I have that I can respec my character infinite times. And basically, what happens is that when you put points into Fire Mastery and you cast it on yourself, you get the rated value of the Fire Mastery. Okay, so this is the first thing. The rated value of the Fire Mastery. So let's go ahead and reset this. Let's go ahead and put the points back in here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put 20 points into Enchant itself. Now you notice that the damage on Enchant is only 208 to 247. If I throw in full points into Warmth, then I end up with 534 to 635. If I cast that on myself, I will get exactly the rated value of 635 added to my damage output, which is exactly what you would normally expect, right? Now, the thing about Fire Mastery is the Fire Mastery, because it affects the spell, when you put points into Fire Mastery, you will get a bonus to the actual spell itself. So you notice that now my spell says 2,338, right? 2,338, or if I swap over to my other skill set, my spirit and whatnot, get my extra plus to skills, it says 4,766. If I cast that on myself, you'll notice that it did not add 4,766 damage. And the reason for that is because my Fire Mastery is increasing the damage of the enchant once. Then, when the Fire Mastery is cast on me, the melee and the range damage has a separate calculation which increases the fire damage twice. Now, this only happens on you. It does not happen on anyone else. So, for instance, if I pull up my mercenary and I look at my mercenary's damage, he has 2,486, and on myself I have 4,766 on my enchant, right? So that would be what, like 4, 5, 6, 7, about like 7,000 some odd damage, right? So let's cast it on my merc, and it's 7,252. So as you can see, he's not getting that massive 22,000 damage. He's only getting what's rated on the actual skill, and the reason why he's only getting what's rated on the actual skill is because he doesn't have Fire Mastery. Fire Mastery is modifying the skill twice for enchant, which is one of the reasons why it's so powerful on the Sorceress, because you're not just getting what's written here, you're getting this plus this again. So when you cast it, it's cast with the Fire Mastery affecting it, and then when you have it on your character, your Fire Mastery affects it a second time. Fire Mastery does this specifically for enchant, and pretty much just enchant only. For Hydra, Meteor, Fireball, Firebolt, Inferno, Blaze, Firewall, it is only going to apply it one time. And also, the thing about Fire Mastery is that since Fire Mastery affects all fire skills, any fire damage that the Sorceress is dishing out, it also affects other such items that have fire damage on them as well. Like, for instance, the dragon armor, the dragon shield, etc. So if you take a look at a character that has access to dragons, I think this guy has dragons. Does he not have dragons? He does not have dragons. He is a terrible individual. How dare he not have access to dragons? Basically, what dragons are and dreams are is they actually give you a holy fire aura. Now, on a paladin, when you're looking at an actual paladin, the holy fire aura doesn't really give you a whole lot. Let me see if I can show you this. So, if I were to put a whole bunch of points into holy fire, you'll notice that it doesn't really have a whole lot of damage. It's 453 to 558 damage to my attack, and it's only 75 to 186 damage on the pulse, which isn't really all that amazing. Even if we throw our points in so we can wear our plus to skill equipment, we're still probably looking at a pretty low amount of damage of 230, 693. So not really all that amazing, right? However, if you take the Sorceress's Fire Mastery and you throw the Sorceress's Fire Mastery on top of this, what you end up with is a hell of a lot more. So you take that 693 and you add 331% damage to it. Now you're looking at 2,986. If you take the pulse damage, which is 230, and you add 331% to the pulse damage, now you're looking at 991 instead of the other. Now, the reason why Holy Fire can work really good on the Paladin is because he has the synergy bonus. The Sorceress does not have the synergy bonus, but if you look at the synergy bonus adds 21% damage per level, right? And the Salvation adds 10% damage per level, which means we end up with about 4,989 fire damage and 1,662 on the pulse, right? Well, if you add all that up, how much percentage is that actually adding to the ability, right? So we've got, what is that, 21% per resist fire. So 21 times 10, which is 210. And then we have 10% times 20, which is 200%. So we're looking at, right? So, did I did this wrong, didn't I? Hold on. All done. So 21 times 20 plus 200, which is 620% from the synergy, right? So we get a massive synergy bonus for the Paladin. Well, essentially, what is happening on the Sorceress when she wears dragons is she's essentially providing that synergy bonus in the form of her Fire Mastery. It's not exactly as good as the synergy bonus that the Paladin has, but you can add to it, and it's actually kind of interesting. She can do the same thing with Dreams by using Lightning Mastery and her Holy Shock skill. Now, one of the things that people do with Fire Mastery, besides the Holy Fire skill, is they also build the Demon Machine crossbow build, which is basically just a matter of firing shots and dishing out massive amount of damage that way. I already have one of those up, and if you watched my last video on enchant, you've already seen this, so I'll go over it briefly. Basically what this is that with the Demon Machine crossbow, you can enchant yourself, and then when you enchant yourself, you're dishing out a massive amount of damage. You take that massive amount of damage, and then you fire it with the explosive arrows on the ability. Exploding arrow from the Amazon. Sorry, my brain is farting out. Now, the Amazon's exploding arrow ability adds all fire damage to it when it explodes. So if you have 22,000 fire damage, for instance, then you will also have 22,000 damage on the explosion, which adds up to some pretty significant damage. It gives you enough that, quite honestly, you're looking at a pretty massive bump. It can go up to, I think I calculated in the last video, it was around 4.2 million per second, which is pretty insane. Here's spicy arrows right here. I just go ahead and hop into a game. It doesn't matter. And let me give you a quick demonstration of this. Sorry, the game is being idiotic and opening up on the wrong screens. Alright, so let me hop over to Frigid Highlands. We're going to pre-buff ourselves real quick. So 1, 2, 3. I'll switch over to my bow. As you can see, I have 11k fire damage, and I'm wearing my Demon Machine crossbow. And I'm going to walk up here and demolish this guy. This is hell difficulty, by the way. That's only P1, but it's still hell difficulty. As you can see, the amount of damage that this can put out is kind of insane. And it goes up higher and higher and higher with the way that Fire Mastery works. So Fire Mastery enables some very interesting things that can be done in terms of even skills that are not on the Sorceress's bar. So it's important to remember that with Fire Mastery, you have things like Enchant, you have things like Holy Fire, and any other spell, by the way, it doesn't matter what it is, will also get affected by the Fire Mastery. So even if you were utilizing things like, for instance, when you put the Fire Facets in your inventory, and it has a 100% chance to cast level 29 Blaze when you level up, or something along those lines, even the on-proc skills will be affected by the Fire Mastery's ability, as well as synergies also will affect the Blaze. So for instance, with Blaze, if you look at Blaze, it says the synergies are Warmth and Fire Mastery, right? So if I have max Warmth and I have max Fire Mastery, then the Blaze that is cast from that stupid little gem will be at maximum potential, essentially, which is rather interesting. I think that covers pretty much everything for Fire Mastery, and this pretty much concludes the Sorceress, so we'll be moving on to the last class. I believe the last class that I have left is the Assassin. As always, thank you for watching, and keep watching.